Let's bring in David Gartenstein-Ross. He's a senior fellow with the Foundation for Defense of Democracy. Also joining me is CNN terror analyst Paul Cruikshank, the co-author of the book Agent Storm. David, let me start with you. How credible do you think this claim is, either that the American hostage was killed by the Jordanians accidentally in an airstrike, or just the fact that she may no longer be alive?
The fact that she may no longer be alive is pretty credible. I think that ISIS is probably saying that because she's dead, though let's obviously hope that she isn't. But as for the claim that she was killed specifically by a Jordanian airstrike, that just seems far too pat. That's exactly what ISIS would like to have happen, in that it seems to split up the coalition. It shows that the Jordanian airstrikes were for nothing good for the coalition. And also, it robs them of this problem that they had, which is what do they do with Kayla Mueller?
Paul, you agree?
I absolutely agree. I mean, this just really smacks of propaganda from ISIS, as David was saying, just all too convenient from their point of view. The idea as well that there will be no guards, no ISIS operatives in this building with such a high-value prisoner just beggars belief, Jake.
Paul, help us understand why ISIS would make this claim from the perspective of their propaganda goals. Obviously, they want to scare people. Obviously, they want to tell the world, hey, Jordan getting more involved was a mistake. Is that their main goal?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday all the headlines was all that joint resolve between Jordan and the United States. So this is clearly to try to drive a wedge between Jordan and the United States, to blame Jordan for the death of this American. The other messaging going on here, though, is that Jordan attacked during Friday prayers, a holy time, obviously, for Muslims. And what they're trying to say there is, how could Jordan do this? They're claiming to be Muslims, but how could they do this? They're basically saying that Jordan are not proper Muslims to be targeting other Muslims at this time. So some very deliberate messaging going on here. This is pure propaganda, Jake.
And David, there was some hope by American officials that by ISIS killing a Jordanian pilot, burning him, which according to some interpretations of the Quran is forbidden, that would be a propaganda coup, a propaganda mistake by ISIS, a propaganda coup for Jordan. ISIS obviously getting in there and saying, not so fast, this is our world of propaganda.
Right. They have, ISIS does, a base that's really attracted to the sheer brutality that they've been carrying out. That being said, I think that they have a strategy which isn't really sustainable in the long term. I mean, you can recall, of course, al-Qaeda in Iraq and how their brutality exceeded what any of the other branches of al-Qaeda were doing. And eventually, that brand became toxic when it caused local uprisings against it in the form of the Sahwa or the Awakening movement. Likewise with ISIS, the burning probably alienates some of their supporters, but only a few at this point. In the longer term, especially if they're seen to be losing, and seen to be losing because of their own excesses, then they're going to have real branding problems. Unfortunately, that's not the case right now, but there's many things that the United States and other coalition forces can do to dispel ISIS's very powerful propaganda, because the propaganda, like ISIS itself, is vulnerable.
Paul, is there any difference in whomever ISIS is trying to appeal to with their propaganda, their warped messages? Is there any difference between ISIS killing a Jordanian pilot and killing a woman aid worker? Does the fact that she's a woman, does the fact that she's an aid worker not change the equation at all?
Well, it's been quite curious from the ISIS point of view that they haven't beheaded any international Western females on camera, that they've all been male the victims. Of course, we know that ISIS has brutalized young girls in just the absolutely awful ways. But for whatever reason, they've not beheaded, murdered women from the West, internationals, on camera in this way. And perhaps ISIS had a kind of dilemma with what to do with this American female hostage. And perhaps this sort of gave them a very, very convenient way out.
All right, Paul Cruikshank and David Gartenstein-Ross, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.